here live on Easter Sunday, right? You know,
Yes,
Easter
sir.
Sunday.
Yes, sir.
April,
Ain't nobody doing it like
Sunday
this.
the
though.
9th, you know, getting after it, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
hey, we're super excited to have you here. I'll have everybody introduce themselves, starting with.
I'm Todd. You already know who I am. I ain't really got to do too much introducing.
Hey, you know what? I'm Jet Black, aka DeMichael Franklin. You know, just here talking with my boys. You feel me?
All right. And Kyvan Gatson, aka Gatson Strong, you know, hit me up on any of the socials, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Don't add me on Snap because if I don't know you, I'm not adding you back. I will hit that X button in the top right corner with the quickness. But yeah, man. So let's get into it.
Yeah. First of all, we need to talk about these fights, bro. Yesterday was the UFC 287, right? And it was a pretty big card, right? We had Adesanya as the main card, which was a crazy bout. As you saw, it was a crazy bout.
He never disappoints.
Yeah, me personally, I picked him obviously to win, but I was definitely iffy on whether or not he would get it done. Not because I didn't think he would. I just think that Pereira's a tough guy. And if you look at the statistics, right, with the amount of UFC champs that were champs, right, and got their belt taken and fought back to get the belt, it's a low percentage that they're going to get the belt back.
Yep.
And I think we actually saw that with Usman too. Like he, you know, it's arguably that like he definitely won the first fight without the head kick, so you know, he didn't win, but he was putting a beating on him for, you know, about 24 minutes. And so then, you know, they had that rematch, and he just didn't look the same.
Yeah.
Didn't look like the same Usman. So I didn't know if we were going to have that same problem with Adesanya.
What do you think that goes into? Like, why do you think that is? You think it's something to do with mentality?
I just think so. I mean, when you're like someone like Usman, who's been a champ for a while now, and he's gone through all this, like a plethora of like good guys, and you're on top for all these years, right? And you lose, but you lose on something that's not even that crazy, right? Like you lost because of a head kick, something that, you know, probably shouldn't have happened, but you know, you just took a lapse, and that's part of the game. That's part of wrestling. It's part of a lot of these combat sports. But I don't know. I just think it could have been mental. It could have been injury. I mean, we do know he broke his hand. He had surgery with that. But he just didn't look like the same Usman to me.
I got you.
In the fight, right?
Yeah.
Like the same pressure in Usman. Like, I'm just trying to get you up on the fence, get my takedowns. I'm gonna smother you. I'm gonna beat you up, type thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't the same thing. And Leon didn't look no different to me. He didn't really look like a different fighter. He looked like the same Leon. Not saying he's a bad fighter.
Yeah.
Just didn't look any different. So it wasn't like he came out and was just like on fire. You know? But
yeah, speaking in longevity, Kyvan, I know you have a long history of being an athletic competitor. And what do you think, like mindset-wise, goes into being an athlete, a top performer for a long amount of time?
I mean, I think the amount of consistency that you have to establish within yourself and your habits is very high level. And then when you start thinking about what success brings, right? Success begets more success, right? And more opportunities, right? And so then you have to start really choosing what you want to be successful at, what you want to make a priority. And, you know, fighting in sports in general, right? Like you can get a certain amount of success money from it, but the real money is either behind the scenes or in different endeavors, right? And so once you see that success, you want to capitalize on it because you want to have the monetary success as well. And I think that's where you have to be very diligent, and you got to put the right people around you. You got to have the right team of people. You know, like it's just different from when it was, I think, back in the day. Like now there's so many more opportunities to grow yourself, grow your brand, monetize different things, whether that's clothing brands, whether that's business endeavors. So like it's just like you got to really make sure your support system is very secure, and you have the right people in the right places with the proper communication, the proper trust. Because if you don't have that, I think you start to see those things creep into the athletic performance, and people are like, oh, like this person is different. You know, like why are they different? It's like this is no longer the main priority. Is it something that is important to them? Absolutely. but is it the main priority? Is it the main way they're feeding their family anymore? Is it their main opportunity to be successful? And I don't think that is always the case, especially once you start seeing success in any sport, because it all depends on your background and what it's coming from. Is it the love of the game, or is it you're trying to create an opportunity to get out of a trauma? You know, like, why did you start doing this?
Yeah.
Like, oh, wrestling for me was a trauma outlet or a coping mechanism, right? And so I got really good at it. And then when you get to a certain level, do you want trauma to be your fuel anymore?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah,
like
that's
it's,
not- yeah.
like if you're trying to heal and grow yourself and be a better version,
The longevity is not there. If that's
right?
if
And
that's-
so like
if
if that's
the-
so like, but like that's a lot of reasoning behind
Yeah.
like trauma does make people great.
Yeah.
You know, but does it sustain the greatness?
Right.
Does it have the capacity to sustain the greatness? I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
That is, yeah. And then, I mean, really speaking on, like, since we on, like, the topic of, like, combat sports world, you actually had a jiu-jitsu tournament, like, this week, didn't you?
Yeah,
Like,
man. Yeah.
This man's just on it right now.
What are some things you
like-
learned from that?
Like,
So-
what were, like, for me, I would say, what were some of the, like, the similarities, you know, that would tie into the sport of wrestling, or then what are some of, like, the things that you feel like were different, or, like, you're like, oh, man, like, that was super uncomfortable when I was in the positions or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I think I actually go into this. I'm gonna be releasing something on my YouTube channel. Again, you can follow me at Gatson Strong.
The YouTube channel is called Gatson Strong.
Yeah,
Okay.
Gatson Strong.
That'll be linked on
Yeah.
there.
So you can subscribe, hit that subscribe button, whatever, and follow along on the journey. But it was wild to me because it's the same energy, the same nerves, right? Like when I'm leading up to it,
Right.
I really focused on wrestling, and I had been in the jiu-jitsu gym, but I hadn't been in about 6 weeks. So I was just lifting and doing some cardio things,
Right.
and then teaching some kids about some wrestling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get to the jiu-jitsu gym Saturday morning, and I'm like, oh, snaps. Like, I'm starting to feel those really familiar nerves. And it's like that where you want to, like, your gut, right? Like, you want to throw up,
Yeah.
but you don't want to throw up.
Yeah.
And so it was like the nerves and the energy were the exact same. Like, the person I was running the tournament, I had reached out beforehand. I was like, hey, you know, can a elite level wrestler with my background come sign up for this tournament? They're like, yeah, you know, like some wrestlers actually have a hard time transitioning, struggling with it. But I think I've been around some really good people, and I think I have a pretty keen eye when watching things and understanding, I guess, maybe what my strengths are and how I can use those. And so, like, we got out there, and it's a little bit more of a slower pace at this level, like, you know, white belt level. I don't think I'll be competing as a white belt anymore. But the energy, those nerves, all the exact same. And I mean, I kind of really just wrestled.
Yeah.
Got to positionings. I was trying to be more intentional about the jiu-jitsu opportunities, like the locks and things like that.
Looking for different stuff.
Yeah, but like it just wrestling positions fell upon, you know, like into my lap, and it was just like, this is what I'm used to doing.
It's
so
there.
So like, yeah. So
Can't miss an open opportunity.
right, like it was like you don't pass on opportunity, right? So it was good. There was five opportunities to compete, 5 subs, and so it was fun. Talked to some people. I think I got some really good photos and things like that, and some good documentation video wise, and might even potentially have an opportunity to do a sub spectrum match, which is getting pretty big in Iowa, like an all-star sub spectrum match.
Yeah. They're getting big on those.
I'm
now.
not familiar with Subspectrum. What is that?
So it's like a jiu-jitsu organization that hosts these like tournaments. So like they had like the baddest blue belt down in Des Moines at Franklin Auditorium at the junior high, and one of my former teammates and training partners, Joe Scanlon, actually won that.
Oh, wow.
the baddest blue belt, and we've had the opportunity to train, and he's coached me up on some things. Even Jerome Ward, which was another former teammate of mine.
Shout out to these guys.
Yeah, big love those guys. Just like poured into me and give me some feedback on things that I can like do better because they've been around it. Jerome was a kickboxer as well as an MMA fighter. Joe has been doing jiu-jitsu kind of since he finished up his time at Iowa State. And then I visited Henzo Gracie down in Des Moines, and then Myriad Submission Fighting in Ames. And so it's been really positive for me, and I feel like a lot more wrestlers can make that transition after college, like just to find something to continue doing. You know, like you don't have to just stop, right?
Yeah.
Like you can go find a different outlet, like whether that's MMA, the jiu-jitsu, the kickboxing, the boxing. It's just a different skill, you know? And I think it's humbling. Like we've talked about failure before, and the importance of it is huge. And so like putting yourself in situations where you can fail, like but fail properly, removing your ego, you know, so that you can learn is important to me. So that's something that I'm trying to get better at doing.
What I do want to say though, to feed off of that, is in this sport of like just combat, right? Like and what you were saying as far as, you know, you think more wrestlers should make that transition. I wholeheartedly 100% believe that. But what I have been seeing is there's a lot of these guys that, you know, they go through wrestling and then they make that transition and they think that transition is just going to be super easy just because they've wrestled all their life, right? Like, so they're like, you know, I've talked to so many guys where they're just like, yeah, man, like I'm just going to go in the fight and I'm going to take the guy down. I'm going to beat him up. And it's like, that's great. That's great and all, like, to have that game plan. But what if that doesn't work? I've seen it all the time where guys are like, yeah, you know, my wrestling's going to win. What your wrestling can, but you have to train every aspect of it. I've seen so many guys get in there, shoot, take shots, get kneed in the face, and then now you're like, oh, I just got kneed in the face. I'm not taking any more shots. So now where's that coming? Are you getting your stand up better? Are you getting your grappling better? Are you getting your jiu-jitsu better? Like, are you getting every aspect of the game better and not just saying, oh, I'm a wrestler, so all I need to focus on is just my wrestling and like a little bit of the sport of MMA? Because the guys that do focus on the other, because your wrestling is always going to be there, right?
Definitely.
Like you don't need to really work too much on that. Now it's just positional things, and it's like jiu-jitsu and your striking. And like one guy that I've seen that's been doing a good job with it is actually Bryce Meredith. Like he has mitts. Like I've seen, you know what I'm saying? He has some pretty good hands. He's not just going out there just to wrestle guys, which I'm not saying you can't just go out there to wrestle guys, but I think too many of us think that it's just that easy, which it's not.
And I definitely think that goes into having good partners that like expose different parts of your
and good coach and good coaches too that don't. There's I've seen it a lot too where there's a lot of coaches now because they love having wrestlers in their room. Whether you're helping them out just training wrestling or if you're a wrestler that's just transitioning, they love having you in there. So they're I've seen it kind of like where they're just become yes men of like, yeah, like this is cool, like you can do that, right? Instead of just telling the guy like, yo, you have this wrestling background, like this is gonna take you very far, but let's focus on all this.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've seen it happen a few times and it's not good, man. Like, so
I definitely think a measure of a good coach is their ability to kind of help you develop despite winning or despite like having a good performance. I think I've had coaches in the past who I've loved dearly, but looking back, there are certain moments where I was winning, but I wasn't developing, and I was kind of stagnating, and just because I was winning. He was like, "Oh yeah, there's nothing to work on. Like you're doing good. Everything's good."
Which is not good.
That's not true,
especially in combat sports. Right?
Yeah,
like I think we've all learned, right? Like being in a combat sport, like wrestling or any of these combat sports, you learn that you should always take something, even from your losses. Like so, wins and losses, you should take something. If you're winning and you can come off the mat and be like, "I don't need to work on anything," like then.
Red flag.
It's a red flag. Right?
Hey yo, throw it,
dude. Because like. It's huge, man. Like you have to, like when you're in a combat sport, you have to figure out ways to continue to get better. There's too many guys out here that is training hard. Everybody training hard, So what are you doing to separate yourself? Really,
Yeah.
is like that thing.
And I think that's where the evolution of your ego is like key,
Yeah.
right? Like,
For
are
real.
you like humbling yourself
Mm-hmm.
to work on, like, if I go into jujitsu practice now, I'm gonna go to my butt. I'm gonna pull guard because I'm pretty confident that I can take down most people.
Yeah.
You know, like in a firefight, right? Like, so is that an area that I need to go and spend a bunch of time? Or do I need to pull guard and understand what that's like, what that feels
Right.
like,
Yep.
you know, in practice? Now, if we're sparring, that's a little bit different. Like I went into in February, I went into to like kickboxing, sparring, MMA class, and I'm just trying to get like active again because you know, like I retired, obviously, not officially,
Yeah.
but moved away from the sport in like May of 2022 after the World Team Trials,
Mhm.
and it's like I stopped doing everything. I was like, I'm done with everything. Like I don't want to eat nothing that's good for me. I don't want to work out. I don't want to do nothing. And it was just like after like probably like 3-4 months, it was like, well, that's not what makes you who's you. You
Yeah.
know, like the discipline, the consistency is what makes you who's you, who you
Right.
are and stuff. And so it was like getting back into it. Like I'm going into this class, right? And I'm probably sparring with this 155 pounder. I think that's what he fights at. Probably cuts down from like 180, 170.
Mm-hmm.
And my man's out here tagging me up with me. Wow, wow. And I'm like, yo. Like he doing it like I think he knows my background.
Was
you know, a
this
little
your
bit.
first time sparring? Like really getting in there?
Nah, not the first time, but it was like one of my first times. You know,
Yeah. Still like new to it.
Yeah, and like he like doing head movement, throwing pop pop, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yo. So I'm just like
Serious.
yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and he was like, it was kind of like he was like moving on me, like yeah, I got you, like
Yeah, like
He was floating like a butterfly,
you
stinging
know,
on
like,
your eye.
and I'm just
I
like,
know you're a wrestler.
I was like, nah, bruh. Mitts, come here. Like, I was like, he was like, oh, I didn't know we was wrestling. I'm like, yo,
It's like,
you was
bro, we sparring.
like, yo, you was out here punching, hitting me in my nose, eyes, and
Yeah, you was
it was just
tagging
like,
me
I
up.
was like, and then you was doing it with like
No.
the bravado too, like the swagger. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to wrestle you, bro, because you're just at a different place than I'm at, right? Like I haven't been training, you know, boxing.
You gotta go where you're comfortable at.
Yeah.
Why am
And
I
so-
sit there and
Yeah, it's like I like to slow roast things essentially.
Yep.
You know, like
you
I'm
be
not
putting, you be putting stuff in the crock pot. Huh?
right. Like I'm a big crock pot guy, big crock pot guy.
Crockpot connoisseur, boy.
Yeah. You can call me crock pot Kyvan with the K, right? Because I'm about to slow roast it, right? Because it's like, what's the rush?
Yeah.
You know, like why do I need to rush this, right? Like I want all the flavor. You know, like I want this to be a amazing feeling. You know, like and so taking my time and not like just jumping into something without the proper education, without the proper tools, isn't something that I want to do. And I think sometimes that's to my benefit. Sometimes it's maybe to my detriment. But that's just who I am. Now, occasionally, will I microwave something? Yeah. Will I put it on the stove or bake it? Absolutely.
Of course.
Of
Of course.
I like to take things slower just so I make sure that I'm really taking in all the information so I can make the best decision with that information, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So with UFC 87, right? Like we got let's see. So I just want to know who all right, so with the I'll go with the Adesanya fight and the Burns and Masvidal fight. Who did you guys have like
Man,
far
I don't
as-
even want to talk about that.
Because
man.
That man must have put money on that.
because look, listen, I'll be honest right now. When you talk about, you know, the Izzy fight, right? Like I had Izzy to win. But also I still, like I said, I just didn't know if he would pull it out.
Yeah.
Right. Now as far as Burns and the Masvidal fight, I had Burns all day. Like I'm like, when you really look at it, is Masvidal really like that? Would we truthfully would we be sitting here right now if he did not knee Ben Askren in the face in 5 seconds?
Ooh.
Like now, if Ben Askren caught that and took him down, where would we be? Because if you ask me, Ben Askren riding him for that whole entire period and possibly choking him out.
Really?
If he caught that leg and took Masvidal down, Masvidal is not getting back up. That's all I know. I'm not saying. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I've been asking some world beater and like he's. I'm saying, would we be sitting here talking about Mazov really if he never knocked him out in 5
I
seconds?
mean, I think
Because there was no hype about Masvidal. Because when he fought Till, like if nothing happened with that Till fight, he was, you know what I'm saying, the UFC was probably going to have to figure out some other stuff, right? Which hats off to him. But I'm saying, so for me, I never thought Masvidal was really
like that.
like that. And I thought Burns was going to do exactly what he did, use his wrestling, use his striking, and, you know, like.
I mean, like that. I think he's a tough dude.
He is
right. Like
he is.
he's a-
Okay, yeah. Let me not say he's not like that. He is like he's a good fighter. But I'm saying with these guys that are so you got Usman, you got
Talking
Colby
about the
Covington,
elite,
yes, you
the
got Burns
top-
and all these
yeah.
guys. Like man, it's a plethora of guys in there.
Yeah, like I think he did an amazing job. Like I think you can learn from him, right? Like we can learn from him. He took his opportunity, right? And boom. Like what did he do? He maximized it. You know what I'm saying? So just like we were talking about a little bit earlier, he had an opportunity, took it. Now this opportunity is gonna open up more endeavors that actually give him more opportunities, right? The fighting is no longer the maybe most important. Now it has its place, but it's not the most important. Like now he has his own
Brand.
yeah, like he has his own brand. He has his own.
He has his own fight
Oh,
leagues.
yeah,
so
like-
like he's set
And, like,
himself up.
We had there's wrestlers on that joint, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. No, there is.
Anthony Cassar.
Kassar,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure Nickel fought one time on one of his cards.
Isn't it Icon?
I'm not sure what it is. See, the thing is, I think he has two different organizations now. I think he's got the boxing one and he's got the MMA one because they just had boxing where they had Roy Jones Jr. fought Anthony Pettis.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah. And Pettis made like 600 something thousand on that fight. That's a bigger bag than what he's made in a lot of his, you know, fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
Him and
Yeah, it's Icon. IKON.
it's Icon. Yeah,
Fighting
because,
championship.
Who else was on there?
And that's probably why they brought the whole thing to Miami.
Miami. Oh yeah,
And did Masvidal retire after?
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
but we don't. It wasn't like he officially said I'm retiring. It was one of those things. He's like, oh, you know, I'm getting a little too old. So we could possibly see him back. I haven't looked at his
Business-
I
business.
haven't even looked at his contract. I think he might still have another fight or two on there.
Yeah,
I'm not
business though.
But yeah, no, I get it. He's definitely
Yeah.
he definitely set himself up and he's making a bag now because those guys that were in that fight, you know, you look at Pettis, he made 600 something thousand. That's more than what he's ever made in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
You got who else fought in there? I mean, I know Roy Jones Jr. got a bag. He got like 700 something thousand. That was crazy.
Yeah, business. You wouldn't like you evolve out of like the truth of the matter is you evolve out of that stage.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like when you evolve out of that stage, it gives you different opportunities to maximize your money, look at things in different way, have different business relationships. And so he's gonna I think he's gonna use that icon in those relationships that he's learned. Why do you think Habib did it? You know, like went and started his own thing, right? And so I love that the athletes are now really, really doing a good job of maximizing and finding other ways. Like, yo, you're not supposed to get punched in the face forever.
Yeah.
You're not supposed
Yeah.
to take those concussions in football for forever. You're not supposed to run, I don't think, for forever. Right? Like if LeBron clearly has been playing basketball at a high level since he was 10. He's almost 40.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna be able to do that for forever.
Yeah.
Right? But like if someone hasn't put that type of stress on their body, they're just like, oh, like I'm gonna run ultra marathons once I start at 25, and I'm gonna do it till I'm 55, 65. They
Yeah.
can because they haven't in their younger years, maybe their developing years, they didn't put that type of stress on their body. So now they have some longevity, like to go, you know, run ultra marathons or triathlons, things like that. And so it's like when you've already essentially punished and wore your body out, can you still do some of those things?
Right.
Yes, but it comes with a cost.
And
right?
I think even that same concept, it's not just with the physical. It's with like your creativity and like think of all the celebrity billionaires. Like you mentioned LeBron he recently made the Billionaire Club, but like even like Jay-Z, Rihanna, like they're not billionaires because of music.
Yes.
They're billionaires
Say that.
because
What
of,
you say? What did you say?
they're not billionaires because of music. They're
Right.
billionaires because of their relationships
Yes, sir.
and being able to transition. And like you say, you transcend the need for what that industry that you're in, right?
Yes.
You make a name for yourself, you build relationships, and then you transcend and become this brand that can do, can have further reach and can expand. So
Right. Rihanna said, "Better have my money." Right. Like that's and like was the halftime.
Yep.
That's like it was.
Then
Man.
she did the little Fenty.
Yep.
She did her makeup in the middle just to drop it, just so
Yeah.
people knew.
Brand awareness.
Yeah, literally.
Like amazing.
Literally. If you were a young athlete and you were going into all these sports thinking I'm going to do this for the rest of my life and that's all I'm going to do, you have a bad attitude in doing it. You should find other ways to make money. You take yourself and whatever sport you're in or whatever business you're in and you let that lead you to other outlets, right? Like if you're a football player, you should be looking at real estate. You should be looking at all these different avenues to make money because like you said, like you can get hurt tomorrow and it's over with.
Mm-hmm.
It's over with. Like I just seen a guy, I think he was from USC, like a lineman, and he tore his ACL at the draft. Like
That's
literally
terrible.
at the draft.
At the combine.
Yeah, at the
Yeah,
combine.
yeah.
And he literally got surgery, came back or whatever. And I don't know if he got surgery. Let me not put no fault. But he had crutches and he had a brace on, and he went to do.
Was that this year's?
That was this year's, and he went to do the bench press, and he did his bench press, but he had a brace on, and he's doing his bench press, like just so he can finish that to potentially be on a team.
Yep.
When he's not even going to be able to play until
Who knows when.
who knows when,
Mhm.
right? Like, and when coaches see that, they like, oh, you know
They
what
probably
I'm saying?
like
But that also
they can get him
but
at a discount.
Exactly. They also see that as heart as well. But I'm just saying, you play this sport or this game all your life, and it can happen like that
Mhm.
at your combine.
Yeah.
Like it can happen anytime.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to say that I think a lot of people last night. I'm going back to the UFC card, but I think a lot of people. We had the Font fight versus Yanez, and I think a lot of people have Font losing. But let me just tell you, if you don't know about Font right now, you need to figure it out because his boxing is crazy. He has some of the best boxing, I'd say, definitely in the bantamweight and definitely in the UFC. And I think he showed that last night because they're two guys that are bangers, but Font put him out early. I don't know if you saw the fight, but he put him out early. I have like one of my best friends actually trains with him, and that's how I found out about Font. Shout out to Eric Reyes, but that's how I found
out Eric,
Yeah, shout out Eric, man. That's how I found out about him, and then I started watching his training and like some of his fights, and it was. So
yeah, you
he's-
told me about
he's-
him about like 2 years ago. You were
Like
like
2 years ago when
Yeah.
he came back from a knee injury. I was like, bro, you got to watch this.
you said he
dude.
over
Like,
on the coast, right? Like
yeah,
northeast.
Massachusetts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you was
Massachusetts.
telling me
The
about
whole New England cartel. They got Calvin Cater, all those guys on there, and man, he's a beast. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the future because he's got that knockout power. You saw that last night. What was it like? Within 2 minutes? Yeah, it was round 1, 2 minutes and 57 seconds. KO. It's crazy.
Dang.
It's crazy. I'm talking. I need to find the knockout because it was when he hit him.
Wow.
When he
Yeah.
hit him, bro, he flew back. Like it wasn't you just drop. Like homeboy really went in a different dimension, bro. Like it was crazy.
Why you pull that up, bro? But like the thing that I appreciated the most outside of that was how Adesanya kind of lured Pereira in.
Oh
like
my
like
gosh,
lured
that
him
clip
in.
is
Like that was like
crazy.
that was
Yes.
like intelligence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that was
Yes.
fight IQ, and I love that because I think that's something that's more that's needed more in wrestling.
Yeah.
Like wrestling is a sport that everyone's like, go hard,
Go,
move
go, go.
forward,
Mhm.
dominate, yada yada
Yeah.
yada, right? Like, and like there's definitely a place for that. But mat intelligence and mat IQ is something that needs to be talked about and understood more. Like it's not just you got to be in great shape and you just go hard and break somebody. Like use your mat intelligence, use your mat savvy, use your awareness, know where you're at, know what can happen from this position, how you can lure somebody into
Right.
this to get him. Like, cause Adesanya, he like my man got the leg kick. Wow, he collapsed a little bit instead of checking it to kind of I think show like pain or injury, right?
Yep.
Then he covers up, and Pereira is like weakness,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like you smell it, right? Like that's what we're taught to smell weakness, right? And even if it's manipulation,
Closes the distance.
like
on
right,
him.
he closes the distance. He like bow, like throws the knee, and he's like leaving himself open because he's like
Trying
he's
to
like I'm
finish
about
it.
to
He's
get
trying to
it,
close it.
right? Like I'm trying to get him out of here.
Yep.
My man hit him with the left and then the right. My man stepped back, then he hit that right again.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah, because one thing I saw too when I was looking at the video is like if you look at Izzy, like he shells up, right? But like, and if you haven't been in a combat sport, you're probably like, oh, like Izzy's getting tore up. But really, he's shelling up, and you can see his eyes. He's looking at Pereira like the whole time,
Right.
as he's shelling up, and right, he can see Pereira's just like this, keeping himself open, right? Mm-hmm. And he just sneaks it in, boom, right? Just sneaks it in.
Yeah, with that left, and then that right came,
Yeah.
and the left wasn't even nothing crazy. It was just like a.
It disrupted. It,
was-
just
yeah.
disrupted it.
It was a little short clip. He
and then
just
then the
right here.
then the right put him
It was a
put
clip.
him to step back, and then and then that second right, and then he even got one in on the ground too.
Oh, he had to. He said that last hammer fist was just that's for them 3 losses. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
like,
Like that's
I need that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Bro,
like, that's a brutal game. It's a brutal game.
look at this this font knockout real quick. Like let me show y'all this, bro. This is crazy.
Oh,
When I tell you
That was crazy. And I felt like he let him get too many on the ground.
like when I tell you he flew back, Font has mitts. Mitts. A lot of people don't know about him, but he's got some mitts, man. And he flew back. That's crazy.
And that
man.
was more like the forearm too.
Yeah. Like, matter of fact, like Font, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard, but like there's a guy named Mickey Ward, and I think they made a movie after him, like a boxing movie. And that Mickey Ward dude's from Massachusetts, and he's actually like one of the boxing coaches.
dang.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check him out and keep my eye on him and his
Yeah.
career because that is crazy.
For sure.
That's
Hey, I just saw that step back. Bow. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
It's crazy. Like I actually went to Smash Park in Des Moines to watch it, and like they got like big screens up. Guess who I saw? What former Iowa State wrestler did I see there?
Gannon Grimmel.
I love how you do that.
Is that who it was?
Yeah. And
That
who
was-
was
that
he
was
with
a-
though? Who
that
was
was
he
a-
with though?
He was probably with Austin Stotts.
No.
Oh, Tessau.
Yeah.
Brandon Tessau.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always with them boys.
Yeah,
Shout out
yeah,
to them boys. Though.
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
Yeah. So well, man, this was awesome. We gotta. I think we gotta make this something that's consistent, folks.
Yeah, for sure.
What y'all thinking?
Yeah.
For sure, man. We just pick each other's brain and just talk about our lives and different things that we've gone through, and then just with some little bit of combat sport, just a little bit of everything, really. You know?
Absolutely.
So
Well, welcome to our first opportunity of the
the small
Black.
and strong.
podcast, man.
Yeah, we out we outside,
We
but,
outside.
but we're inside.
We are inside. But yeah, we out.
Sheesh.